So guys, welcome back to the first video of the Biology Bros.
Oh my god.
We'll change the name afterwards, but today we will be talking about the first stages of evolution.
But not the first.
Well, the
One
first,
stage.
one of the first few stages, which involves the osteichthyes and chondrichthyes. These are the bony fish, as you can see on the left, and the cartilaginous fish. Now these were around in about 400 million years ago in the Devonian period. Now bony fish include things such as the carp, the trout, the other things.
Persidae.
Yeah, and then the chondrichthyes, cartilaginous fish, include things such as sharks, rays, and skates, which are a bit like rays. So for some characteristics, common characteristics for the two groups of fish are the gills. They both have 5 to 7 gills. However, chondrichthyes have no operculum, which is the gill covering, and the bony fish do. So yeah, they both have these nostrils, which is for smelling, basically, and they have chemosensory organs which detect chemical trails, so they can smell stuff. So sharks, for example, they can smell blood from about a mile away. Okay, next.
Fertilization maybe? Or they still
Yeah, okay, so you may not be able to see it clearly, but sharks do have scales. They are placoid scales.
not this day, it's like
Which means if you
smooth one way or something.
rub them one way, it's smooth, but if you do it backwards, it's like sandpapery. Yeah, so they have these to reduce friction as they're swimming. They are denticles made of dentine. And bony fish have cycloid scales, which is a different structure, but it's also to reduce friction, and it's smooth one way, rough the other way. Yeah, so chondrichthyes have 2 dorsal fins, osteichthyes have 1 dorsal fin and an adipose fin. They both have pectoral fins. However, in bony fish, the pectoral fins are more on the sides, up above, well, a bit higher, and the pectoral and the pelvic fins are directly below.
Do you know what they are below?
Oh yeah, so the fish can then perch on the sediment or the rocks underwater. Now, yeah, so not all chondrichthyes, but sharks specifically, have pelvic fins which are further back, and pectoral fins which are closer, or attached to the skull, and they're quite big and strong because sharks don't have a swim bladder. So they have to use the strong fins to keep them floating. But they also have an oily liver, and the oil is called squalene, which helps them regulate the body density, so they keep, they can stay
Buoyant.
buoyant,
Yeah.
regulate buoyancy. And let me see for the other one. Yeah, so for example, skates and rays, I don't think they have a pelvic fin, do they?
I think they do. I know. I think it's like pointy on the side. It's not underneath. Oh, or is it?
Okay, well,
I need to
anyways,
research that.
So skates and rays are dorsally flattened, which means it's just like a little pancake.
Yeah.
And they have a long tail, which is like, it's got 2 needles on the end, but it's just a long straight tail. Whereas sharks have a heterocircle tail, which means one tip is longer than the other. So usually the what's it called? Posterior,
yeah.
no, dorsal tip, yeah. Okay, so basically, yeah, so for this,
fertilization, so,
yeah, I forgot
they're
about bony
reproductive.
fish. So bony fish have a swim bladder, not a oily liver like sharks, because they can just, they can take in air, which inflates and deflates like a lung. So when it inflates, they float up. If it deflates, they float down. Yeah, some bony fish, that swim bladder evolved to become a lung, as we have today, humans, so we can breathe. But that's a story for another day. What else now? What am I missing?
Oh, so with
Yeah,
the sharks.
for the tail as well, bony fish have a homocircle tail, so both tips of the fork are the same length.
With the placoid scales, the teeth are derived. So basically, the shark teeth are made of it's like dentine, the same sort of what's it called?
It's like modified scales.
Yeah, basically the same material as the scales, which is dentine. That's the teeth. That's the same as the teeth. And when they fall out and lose them, they just regrow back. You know that.
Also, differently to osteichthyes, all members of the chondrichthyes have these electroreceptors all around all around, which basically detect electrical currents in the water. So it's very sensitive as well, and they can basically detect what is around them. In terms of reproduction, chondrichthyes have internal fertilization, so they have by the cloaca, the fins by the cloaca, the male sharks have these little claspers coming off the fins, which they then insert into the female, that's not funny, into the cloaca for internal fertilization. And then, yeah, so most chondrichthyes are viviparous, which means they just give birth to live young. However, some species have a oviparous reproductive strategy, which means they give birth to an embryo, but that embryo is surrounded by a leathery sac called a mermaid's purse. Yeah. Yeah, they stay in that until they're ready to hatch. But then osteichthyes, the female just lays the eggs firstly, and then the male fertilizes the eggs externally, so there's no penetration.
We did not talk about the breathing, so that's buccal pumping and then ram.
Oh yeah.
Is it called a ram ventilation? No,
ram ventilation.
That's it, ventilation.
Okay, so another difference is respiration. So bony fish, if you'd like to explain that, George.
So yeah, the bony fish, yes, they just swim in with the mouth open, and they just bring. I think it's buccal pumping.
Yeah.
Bring in water.
Where they use gold.
Which contains obviously a lot of oxygen. The oxygen passes over the gills, through the gills, and obviously over the gill arches it meets the bloodstream, and it's the most efficient way for them to breathe, because obviously oxygen, which is purified, I suppose.
Oxygenated. Oh yeah.
Yeah, but oxygenated, purified, meets the blood, and then obviously that is then carried to the head, the heart, and around the body of the fish. And then with the shark, so obviously they have to constantly keep swimming. And obviously as they're swimming with their mouths open, which is known as ram ventilation?
Yeah, there's
ram ventilation. It's the exact same procedure, so they bring in water which contains high concentrations of oxygen. It's diffused over the gill arches again, yeah, so as it hits the blood.
The filaments.
The filaments, yeah. It passes over into the bloodstream, and it's passed around the body, to the head, and to the heart of the shark, and rays and skates. Anything else?
Yeah, and bony fish all have these spiracles, which means they can just be still, and water will just go in them for respiration. But some species of sharks,
hammerheads don't, and great. They do, but they're not as
yeah, they're just not as efficient. They can't be used really
compared to like a mako shark.
Yeah. So that means they have to just constantly keep swimming so water can go in. Because if they stop, there's no way for water to go in, because they don't have the buccal pumping technique as bony fish do.
Yeah. Not everything. Anything else?
No. Any questions? Leave them in the comments.
Leave a like and subscribe.
Yeah, and stay tuned for next episode, which will be amphibians and reptiles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Let's go.
Thank you.